Hi, Mel here from Synthesis Health Lab, and today I'd like to go over the three most common reasons why your fatigue is not improving despite all of the things that you are doing and trying. The first one is not understanding why you have fatigue in the first place. So, fatigue is really awful to manage with, and here we're talking about chronic fatigue, fatigue that just you wake up tired, you go to bed tired, not feeling tired because you didn't have a good night's sleep, right? And the reason why the brain creates fatigue is actually as a protective output because it wants you to go lie down because it's worried about you standing up and being up and about. So that's an interesting thing. But why would it do that? Well, it really depends and it's unique to each person. So it can be due to chronic infections, it can be due to gut issues, it can be due to unhealed head injuries is a really common one. Probably the most common one that's completely overlooked, that's almost never looked at, is a vestibular issue, which is an issue in your brain's balance sensing system and its ability to know where you are in space in relation to gravity. If there's an issue with that system, even if it's a small issue, the brain might decide that you are at risk of falling and it will create profound fatigue to make you go lie down. And so, whatever else you're trying to do, if you have that problem, if you're trying to take mitochondrial boost supplements or red light therapy or whatever it is, if it's not fixing that problem, then the fatigue is not going to go away. And also, it can be due to cumulative load. So it doesn't have to be due to one thing. So it may be that you experience the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. So, you're fine and then you have an infection and now you've been stuck in fatigue ever since. But there may have been other issues there before that now it becomes too much and now the brain feels too much threat and decides to create fatigue. So that's reason number one, is not understanding why it's there and particularly realizing that the why it's there is individual to each person. So that product that's being sold for chronic fatigue is unlikely to help if it's not addressing the issues that you have, right? And that's why also the supplement you took that helped for your friend with chronic fatigue syndrome is not helping you. Okay, so that's number one. The second most common reason why people aren't getting better is because they're focusing too much on inflammation. So there's a really common story that all illness is caused by inflammation and chronic illness is caused by inflammation and you're inflamed and you need to get rid of the inflammation. But chronic fatigue syndrome is actually a syndrome that in the animal world is known as something called Dauer. Okay, Dauer. And it's a state that animals can go into when conditions are really, really harsh. And so maybe there's not enough food, or maybe the weather's crazy, or whatever it is. And it's a survival strategy. It's a very risky survival strategy because when you go into Dauer, you might get eaten because you're not going to be able to run away, and you're also not taking in nutrients. And so it's almost like this emergency response system where there's like a brownout, and so all the non-essential functions of the body go offline, and so you're just in survival mode. And so this is the reason why with chronic fatigue syndrome, so many symptoms are posturally related. So everything gets worse when you stand up. Okay. Why? Because in Dauer, it's all optimized for lying down. It's very much like hibernation, but hibernation is something that hibernating animals do annually based on the time of year, whereas Dauer is an emergency response. Okay. People in this state, they tend to have low blood pressure, they tend to have low inflammatory markers, they tend to be cold. And basically everything in their body is trying to get them to lie down. And so if that is you, if that's what state you're in, and then the advice out there on podcasts or social media is basically like take anti-inflammatory this and anti-inflammatory that. It's not going to help at best, and it can even make things worse because in this Dauer state, in this hibernating like state, uh, really people tend to be underinflamed rather than overinflamed. So that's the second reason is misunderstanding the pattern and trying to go after inflammation when that's not really the main issue. And then the third most common reason why people stay fatigued despite massive effort is because they are trying to solve things in the wrong order. Okay. Everyone I've worked with chronic fatigue syndrome has multiple issues. Okay. It's not a simple thing. There's almost always multiple things going on, and it really matters what order you go in to try to resolve it. So you may find an issue that you have like food sensitivities or gut issues or I don't know, or you're trying to improve circulation, right? All things that if you do it, it sounds like it should be good and it could be good if it's done at the right time, because your body is more like a combination lock, right? Where you need to put things in the right order for the thing to open. Okay. And so that's another big thing that people I see, they're taking mitochondrial support supplements and boosting this and trying to increase that and increasing circulation, maybe go for a massage, and then afterwards they feel, like garbage. And these are all things that could be helpful or might be helpful if they're done at the right time, but tend to backfire if they're done in the wrong order. So that's the third most common reason I see that people who are, really trying hard and highly intelligent are struggling and stay in chronic fatigue despite massive efforts. So I hope that's helpful. I actually have a group of people all over the world who I help go through a step-by-step plan to help reverse things like chronic fatigue syndrome, as well as other issues that are sometimes related, fibromyalgia, autoimmune issues, chronic infections, and so on. So if you're interested in seeing what that's like, you can apply to be a free guest in the group, and I'll take a look at your application. If you're a good fit, you can come in for a limited time. You would be in the group with real current annual members, and you can see how I answer questions in real time. You can ask me any questions you might have, and you can see if you see a future for yourself there to go through an in-depth step-by-step process to resolve your triggers in the right order so that you can get your life back. So this is Mel from Synthesis Health Lab. Take care.